Hello, this is Seth and welcome to another personal vlog. This one is a tribute to Parkland and the kids who are speaking out for the gun control laws, Emma Gonzalez and David Hogg. You guys are awesome. You survived probably the worst day in your life, and what do? You don't hide. You strike out in the hopes that no one should ever experience what you experienced. And kudos to you. You've taken amazing flack from the people who oppose you, calling you actors, calling you paid consultants or whatever. You're just doing your civic duty to ensure that all kids are safe at school. That's commendable. That's amazing. I've read articles on CNN that say that it's not the adults who lead change, it's the kids. And I think that's true. In the 60s, it wasn't the status quo who came out against the Vietnam War. It wasn't the status quo who came out for civil rights. It was kids in their teens and 20s in both cases, and they ultimately won. People have more civil rights than ever, and people helped stop a war that was just never going to end. They experienced setbacks, and you will too, but I'm sure, I'm positive that you will not let these setbacks stop you. You've already had a few at the Florida State House, and that just seemed to galvanize you toward going for your goal. That's the way you're going to win. If you let nothing stop you, if you keep on going, keep on doing the marches on Washington and the walkouts from school and other peaceful protests in all the while, getting people to run on your platform, you will win. Just keep going. I made a vlog for you last night, and it wasn't good enough because I learned about the opposition to you guys today, and I thought I had to add that in because you're doing a phenomenal job. Back to the vlog. I really appreciate what you're doing. You're, believe it or not, I think you're saving lives. You're boosting awareness, and it's all good. It takes a very strong person or a strong group of people to do what you're doing, to stand up to people who just don't get the correlation between laws that don't seem to work and not following up on people who need to be checked up on by law enforcement, the FBI, the cops. It's just one of the pieces, but I believe you're going to make a difference. I believe that you have to, because nobody else is hearing you, nobody else is doing the thing about it, and all these shootings, in my mind, they're about 19 years old. Columbine was April 20th, 1999. You know, it was shocking to me. And we're going to have the 19th anniversary in about 2 months, a little under 2 months. And it's still shocking to me. I remember it because I was working as an aide in the middle shocked at what transpired and the level of pure evil that existed in that on that day. That someone would conceive of doing something so violent, so sinister, way beyond the pale, and it's only increased since then. And I know I'm talking about things that you know already, but I'd like to share my own little story about an incident that happened when I was working. Let's see, it would be about 16, 17 years ago. It's 2002, so it's like 16 years ago. Everything went out right, but when it was, I think about it, every time one of these school shootings happen, or the movie theater shooting, and just stupid, heinous acts of violence. I think it happened on a Tuesday and Wednesday, but let me start with the preceding Sunday. On the preceding Sunday, I went to Plymouth, which is a town east of where I live, and I was shopping, I think. And as I was driving home, I got to a place where I heard some pops going off, and I recognized them as gunshots because I've shot guns before and I've shot multiple calibers of guns, so I'm fairly familiar with what they sound like. So I thought it was weird, because it was Sunday in the middle of the day. You don't hunt with a handgun, and it wasn't hunting season because it was spring. Then I forgot about it in a while, and I went to my job at the school. I was maintaining the school's computers and servers. I was right out in Dartmouth. 9/11 just happened the year before, and that pretty much killed my job prospects because everyone from the city got freaked out and moved up here to the country and took all the jobs because the employers saw city experience and they were willing to hire people from way over local people. So that's how I was there. And it was good. I like being around kids. Kids are very life affirming. Kids are, I trained as a teacher when I was in college, undergrad. I've always liked kids. My parents always liked kids because they were teachers for a combined total of 37 years. So, they're family business, I guess. And so I was fixing computers and going around, and we just instituted a lockdown procedure because of all the school shootings, Columbine in 1999, some others after. And what would happen was my office was in the back room of the library, where they used to keep the access card catalog stuff and just the librarians, whatever she needed from the library. And we had a server in there, and that was my office. And everyone gathered in my office when we had the drill in the library because the office was an internal room, no windows, concrete all around, a single door made out of metal. I think it had one of those little squares with the reinforced glass with the wire axes, and we would put a thing in front of it so no shooters could see into the room. But now we had one of those drills in the fall and one in the spring. So I was coming down the hallway going back to my office, and up come this kid pushing a library cart, and he asked me how much blood was in a human body, which I should have thought it was weird, but when I was in high school, I would have asked the same thing. And just for my own knowledge, because I am a trivia hound. I love trivia. Trivia is my favorite thing to do. I know all kinds, laughing because my mom always says, you only remember the trivia, you don't actually remember anything that's helpful like math, But this is what sticks. Like, I can tell you there are 10,500 cabs in New York City, or at least there were 10,500 cabs in 2005. Stuff like that. And so I went up and I looked up, and it's like, it depends on how big of a person you are. And come to find out, a couple of days later, this kid brought a pistol in his backpack. And he had a crush on one of the teachers. I had crushes on my teachers when I was in school. And it's just a natural thing, but he just took it way too far. And he went into the class and he took out his pistol and put it on his desk and made his demands. And I was across the school in my office when it went down, and no shots were fired. What happened was that this teacher, she was able to talk him out of shooting people, talk him out of doing everything, and she was able to get the teacher from the classroom next door to call the office and lock down the school. She's a real hero. And we were all locked in my office until it was over. And what happened was, she actually got the kid because he liked her, and and he wanted to kill everyone in the classroom. I don't know why. One of those totally screwed up inappropriate ideas that some people have. And she was able to walk him down to the school resource officer who arrested him, and she saved every one of those kids in the classroom, because when they examined his backpack, he had one bullet for every single classmate, teacher in that room. That's crazy. I mean, bringing a gun to school and bringing bullets for the gun is crazy, but just that level of premeditated thought is just unbelievable. So what I'm trying to do is not say that my experience, my tiny little insignificant experience, is anything like Parkside. What I'm trying to do is say that you don't know when one of these things, these school shootings, is going to happen. You don't know. I should have alerted someone that this kid asked a weird-ass question, but I didn't know this kid from Adam, right? So I didn't know who this guy was. I didn't know it was the same guy as who was planning on shooting him in school. Going back to Sunday, we connected the dots, and he's the kid who was target practicing at his house with a handgun as I drove by. So you really don't know, but you always should have your ears open, your eyes open for, there are signs. Like everyone who's ever been in the school shooting, and even Parkside, of course, they were saying this kid was crazy. This kid got in trouble bringing a gun to school. No, you don't need guns in school. Well, that's why we have resource officers in our school. Because they're police officers, naturally they're going to carry guns. And it's not turning the guns on the students. It's just to keep the kids and teachers and staff like me safe from people outside trying to get in with drugs and guns and just evil intentions, and to keep those students or staff members or whatever from also having acting out on the evil intention, because we all want to save the kids. We all want the kids to grow up clean of all these horrible experiences in the Parkside. Kids have no experience. The Columbine kids have experienced. The Newtown kids have experienced. The LA kids have experienced. It's just too much. We need to find some way of making the lawmakers understand that this is not the way. This is not the way to grow up. You gotta grow up like I did. Well, if I had kids, I would want them to grow up the way I did. I want my niece to grow up the way I did, just free and safe from that kind of violence, that kind of evil. And, because I used to take toy guns to school because I wanted to be a cop. Obviously, I'm not going to be a cop because I have cerebral palsy, but it's okay to want to be a cop and not be a cop. It's not okay to bring toy guns to school. I didn't understand that when I was in 5th grade because no one ever attempted a school shooting until way later. I think the first school gun incident was actually in New Hampshire when, in 1991, some kid barricaded his teacher in a room with a handgun. I don't know why. Probably the same reason as just evil people do it today. But that wasn't reality when I was a kid, and I really wish we could close Pandora's box. We can't close Pandora's box, but we can have to respond differently and hopefully keep these incidents from happening. They just don't belong in school. So, thank you, Parkside kids. Thank you, administrators, for sticking up for your kids. The kids are the future, and the kids need to be supported in whatever ways we can support them, because this affects them. This does not affect me per se, unless it's one of my family, because I'm too old to be in school, but I don't want kids to be exposed to that environment. It's not a school environment. It's not conducive to anything. It's not going to make them better citizens. I mean, it has made them more politically active, but that's a very steep price to have to pay when you're seeing your friends and your schoolmates being gunned down, crying, screaming, dying. It's a war zone. It was a war zone. Kids should not be in a war zone. Especially not in our country where we're supposed to be so advanced. Thank you for being you, Parkside Students Administrative School. You know, all the people who protected the kids so it wasn't worse for them. You guys are amazing people. I hope you know that. I have been getting a little more political in my vlogs, but I felt that I've had to because I really like kids. Kids really need to grow up to be just the best people they can possibly be because they deserve that. They deserve the world from us, the adults. They deserve full support because they are the future. They're going to be taking care of me and you if you're an adult. And we just have to make sure that they grow up having the right experiences, not having to deal with the horrible, horrible realities of the world. So if you like this video, click like, subscribe, and I hope you have a better day. I hope you have a safe day. I hope you have a good weekend. Hi, there's a reason why I'm using the southern accent. I'm trying to make my voice sound clearer and less nasal. And this is a very new thing I've been trying because I have what is called a soft palate where my palate doesn't block the air from getting into my nasal cavity like yours does. Like hangs open and some doing this. So what I've been doing is I've been listening to Pearl Jam because it even has a low voice. And one of my problems is I speak too high for my voice, so my voice doesn't work for me. So I'm trying to emulate anybody who has a low voice. This is what it sounds like approximately in my mind. I'm not meaning to use a southern accent. It's just something trying because I want my voice to be clearer for you, the audience, and for all the other people in my life. Right now my voice is really unstable. Sometimes it works. Sometimes it doesn't. I don't think it's working. What I've heard, it hasn't working in this video. But I'm still trying until I get it right. So, I hope you have a good weekend, a fabulous weekend. And I hope you all are safe.